What is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed, and in today's video, I want to break down some of the latest news and highlights surrounding the Cardano ecosystem. The first bit of news, and arguably the biggest piece of news here for today's video, is going to be the release of Marlowe on the mainnet. If it's your first time hearing about Marlowe, this is going to be an ecosystem of tools and languages to enable development of financial smart contracts without having to have the expertise or knowledge of actually creating a Plutus smart contract by hand. Now that's going to be a pretty big update there, and we're going to dive into that as our very first topic. Second, I want to jump into some updates surrounding Binance and a little bit of drama that they've actually stirred up here within the Cardano stake pool operating community, given the fact that they now run over 32 active stake pools, and they're actually undergoing a migration from a certain stake pool ticker to another, which is causing a little bit of heartburn within the community. Now, I do also want to touch on the fact that Binance will also be listing a new ADA trading pair and exactly what that means for Cardano and exactly what trading pair or what token will be able to be used in order to actually purchase Cardano on the Binance centralized exchange. Next, I want to jump into updates surrounding the Lace wallet, which has now undergone open sourcing, which means that their code base is now available for the entire community to peer review. And then after that, I want to jump into some updates surrounding Minswap, and I want to review their monthly stats. Now, for those of you who know about Minswap, they've been on fire very recently here, and this last month of stats really goes to show and bring that home. So I want to review those along with you guys. The very last thing I want to do is touch on Liquid, which has now added adoption for iUSD on their lending and borrowing protocol. Now, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal here is to provide you guys in the community with the latest news, tutorials, and reviews surrounding the top builders and projects on the Cardano network. If you guys want to support me here on my mission to educate the broader Cardano community, then consider delegating with the official Dapp Central Stake Pool, which is stake pool ticker DAPP. Again, and as always, I appreciate you guys supporting me here on the channel. Jumping into the very first topic here for today's Cardano Scoop, I want to touch on Marlowe and the fact that it is now live on the Cardano mainnet. So as I mentioned before, Marlowe is going to be an ecosystem of tools and languages to enable development of financial and transactional contracts. Formal proofs, extensive testing, and analysis tools provide strong assurances for the safety of Marlowe smart contracts. And then this has all been developed in a full suite of tooling that supports all skill levels. So whether you're a Cardano dev or whether you're just a brand new person into this ecosystem, you should be able to leverage Marlowe, which, as I just mentioned, is now available on the mainnet, in order to create your own transactional or financial smart contracts. Now, if you guys want to find out more about Marlowe, you can head over to docs.marlowe.iohk.io. And as always, I'll leave the link to this down in the description below. Now, the importance and the actual ease of use for this here is going to be quite interesting. So what I want to do is just kind of touch on exactly what is going to be available from the documentation website. And then I'm going to give you guys an actual preview of what it looks like to actually build out a smart contract using Marlowe. So from the official documentation page here, you can get access to all of the infrastructure surrounding exactly how Marlowe works and exactly what is integrated into Marlowe. They've also got a full suite of tools as well as documentation surrounding the actual smart contract language. Very lastly, they've got a playground which allows for you to basically test out things in a sandbox environment, given the fact that you may not necessarily want to launch everything on the mainnet right away. They've also got the adoption for Blockly, which is going to be a visual representation of you actually creating your smart contracts, which again makes this super easy for anybody to pick up, given the fact that it's kind of like a plug and play or a Lego style way of developing a smart contract. Very lastly, if you're a little bit more on the technical side, they do have API references that can be accessed if you're looking to do some of the leveraging of Marlowe in that way. Now I'm going to jump over into my next tab here, and I'm just going to kind of roll this here in the background. And what I want to show you guys here is basically how easy it is to now create a smart contract on the Cardano network. So what we have here is going to be an actual video from IOG or input output, and we've got a member creating a brand new quote unquote project or a brand new quote unquote smart contract. So as you guys can see there on the left hand side, we've got different types of contracts and we've got different types of variables. Now you probably will still need a minor understanding or at least a basic understanding of smart contracts, variables, object oriented kind of things like that to kind of, be able to leverage and hopefully interact with this a little bit more smoothly. Now, I'm not sure if you need to have all of that from the jump. You could probably learn a lot of that as you go. But as you guys can see here, I mean, they're literally just dragging and dropping different pieces. And as you're dragging and dropping these different objects, you can see exactly what is required. So for example, we have this pay portion right here, or this pay block. And as a part of that, you have to identify who you're paying to, the amount that you're paying for, the actual currency that's being paid in, the account where the payment is being made from. So again, this is pretty simple. And I think that if you're showing this to somebody who's maybe not too technical, they could still potentially be able to understand this with a very minor understanding of Cardano and Pluto smart contracts as a whole. Now, I also want to touch on some of the key benefits here that we can expect using a platform like Marlowe. So number one is going to be accessibility and simplicity. Again, whether or not you're a Plutus dev, right? Or whether you just come into the ecosystem, last week, this should now be available to anybody. And with little to no searching, you can actually get access to it. And as I mentioned before, you can get access to the playground very easily. Now, in terms of simplicity, just like I showed you guys there, I mean, it's literally drag and drop blocks. This makes it extremely simple for anybody to pick up, but it also makes it very hard to make mistakes, right? Because you're kind of confined within this playground and these particular blocks that have been created and predefined for you. There's less room for errors. The next thing I want to touch on is going to be safety and formal verification, because this is all going to be packaged in a block style approach. They've already kind of done all of the review and all the security testing for these blocks of smart contracts. So you shouldn't have to, again, recreate the wheel. And what we're getting out of Marlowe should hopefully be the simplest and easiest ways to perform these functions. Keep in mind that whenever you're dealing with code, there's plenty of different ways to get to the same exact answer. Just like with math, there's plenty of ways to get to a particular answer. The same thing will be true with coding and smart contracts. So hopefully, things like efficiency were taken into account, but I definitely know that, when it comes to IOG and the Cardano Foundation in general, they do an amazing job of taking safety and security first. Now, in terms of formal verification, as I mentioned before, this is going to be all heavily tested chunks of code. So hopefully when it comes to formal verification, there isn't a lot of additional work that needs to be done by the end user in order to leverage Marlowe. Next, I want to talk about integration with the Cardano infrastructure. Because this is being released by IOG, we would hope or assume that a lot of this will be functional or at least integratable into other portions of code that is future released by IOG or the Cardano Foundation. The very last thing I want to touch on is going to be regulatory compliance. And again, this is probably an area that they're working on right now, but I would hope that everything that comes out of the Marlowe platform is regulatory compliant in some way. But given the fact that we don't understand the full landscape of regulations just yet, I'm assuming that they'll probably be upgrading parts of the Marlowe code or parts of the Lego blocks per se as a part of the Marlowe suite. That's going to do it there, though, for the very first update that I wanted to touch on for today's Cardano Scoop. That was surrounding Marlowe, which again has been now released on the Mainnet. If you're in the community and maybe you've had the interest of actually creating smart contracts and you haven't actually had the ability to, give Marlowe a try and let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I'll be definitely playing around with the playground and seeing exactly how easy it is for me to create my own smart contracts. Now, I probably won't roll them out in the mainnet, but again, just as a proof of concept to really see how user-friendly and how much more adoption this could potentially bring towards the ADA network. Now, the next update I want to touch on is going to be surrounding Binance and the fact that this particular team has now made an additional new set of stake pools that have kind of rubbed a few members within the community the wrong way. So we can see that Binance already had 62 stake pools with the BNP ticker. It now seems as they are moving their stake to brand new stake pools, which are now labeled as BSP. So if I jump over into Pool PM and I just type in BSP, we can see that there's over 30 brand new pools that have just been spun up here, which are all related to Binance. So we've got Binance nodes, number 1, all the way to, let's see here, I think it ends at like 32 or something like that. But either way, again, these are all going to be strictly for the Binance exchange. As you guys can see, all of these were just created no more than just a few days ago, and they've got a very small pledge and only 2 delegations. So one of them is the actual node operator, and then they've just got one gigantic whale wallet here that resides within this particular pool. Now, the hiccup here that is kind of rubbing the Cardano community the wrong ways. Not only is the Binance team already operating 32 plus pools on top of the other 60, this almost gives them 100 pools within Cardano, which, as you guys know, makes Cardano more centralized instead of decentralized, which is what we're all aiming for here in this community. But we've also got an actual stake pool that had claimed the BSP ticker, which is going to be the brothership pool. Now, if you guys don't understand how these stake pool tickers work, they're basically going to be the shorthand identifier for anybody within the community to quickly find your stake pool. For example, mine here on the Dapp Central YouTube channel is going to be the DAPP stake pool, or the DAPP stake pool ticker, which will allow for you to stake within the actual Dapp Central stake pool. Now, the BSP ticker was already claimed by the brothership pool, but now that Binance is adding an additional 32 pools with that particular shorthand ticker, it kind of muddies the water for anybody potentially looking to delegate to the brothership pool. So that is exactly what is going on there with Binance. Let me know what you guys think down below. Obviously, the fact that they're a multi-pool operator does not sit well with a lot of people, but it does bring a lot of liquidity, or at least a lot of ADA to the network. So love them or hate them, they are here, and you know, this is just part of how Cardano works. We've obviously got more than just Binance as multi-pool operators, but this is one group per se that has really kind of just taken a lot of the attention off of others, given the fact that they now have over 90 different pools here operating on the ADA network. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is going to be the fact that we are expecting to see an additional listing on Binance for Cardano with a brand new USD stablecoin. Now, this particular stablecoin is going to be called True USD, and this particular pair will be going live on May 31st, and this could potentially bring a lot of new growth to the Cardano blockchain. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that on platforms like Binance, which have been around for quite a bit of time, they've already adopted some of the major or some of the bigger trading pairs for Cardano. So for example, you can trade or swap in your Cardano for USD. You can also trade or swap in your Cardano for the Circle US dollar, as well as Tether's US dollar. And so we've already kind of got the bigger names there. But the fact that we're adding an additional one here for anybody who's holding True USD, they'll now also be able to purchase Cardano relatively easily from the official Binance marketplace. Jumping into the official website here for True USD, we can see that this is going to be one of the first USD stablecoins operated by a regulated operator. And they actually got some pretty simple instructions here as to how you can mint, hold, trade, and potentially stake your TUSD. Again, you can now leverage this to purchase ADA on May 31st. Jumping back out there, that's going to wrap it up for that particular update. The next thing I want to touch on is going to be Lace and the fact that we now have an open sourcing of their smart contract code. So Lace is going to be a brand new wallet developed by IOG, and we can see here that they've now open sourced all of the code for their wallet. Now, this is right on the heels of Meld, Indigo, Paribus, and AADA, which have all open sourced their code as well. Now, two big things here when it comes to open sourcing code. Number one is obviously that this gains a lot of community's trust. I feel like IOG and the Lace wallet already had a relatively good reputation. They were one of the highly anticipated wallets coming to Cardano, and now that they've at least launched their first version, they're working on multi-delegation pool operations and features, as well as fiat on-ramps and off-ramps to add to future versions. So they're kind of delivering on all fronts here, and the fact that they're just kind of open sourcing their code, I think, just adds to what already has been a really good start for this team. Now, the second benefit here of open sourcing their code is that this is going to allow for the community to kind of double check everything that's already been in place and released by the Lace team. For example, we just had the release and the adoption of Ledger Recover, which was a feature in which Ledger wanted to allow for people to recover their 24 seed phrase if they lost it through a centralized entity. As you could imagine, a lot of people were frustrated about that, given the fact that this was not open source, meaning that nobody was really able to see exactly how this particular recover feature would work and exactly what is being kept track from the wallets choosing to undergo or take advantage of this feature. So on the other hand, right, when we're getting a platform like Lace that is allowing for us to see exactly how everything runs, again, it builds community trust, but it also lets people be at ease, understanding and knowing that their assets are stored in a safe wallet. So if you guys want to find out more about the open source code, I'm going to leave the link to their GitHub repository down below. But as you guys can see, it's pretty clean. And the majority of this here will be in TypeScript with the adoption of SCSS, JavaScript, and Gherkin. They've got some of the commands here that you guys can take advantage of if you're looking to go ahead and actually install this on your workspace. That's going to be it there for that particular update. Again, touching on the fact that Lace has now open sourced their wallet. The next thing I want to touch on is going to be surrounding Minswap and the fact that this team has just released their monthly stats. And as you guys are probably aware, this particular DEX has been on fire over the course of the last 2 weeks. Now, this is all due to the meme coins that have been launching on Cardano. We've got SNEC, which I've been talking about here for quite a bit of time. We've also got Bank, which has been doing an amazing job with over 30 million ADA in 24-hour trading volume in the very first day that it launched. Now, a lot of this trading volume is occurring on Minswap, given the fact that they're the most adopted DEX right now with the majority of the market share on the network. So what I want to do is just break down the latest stats here very quickly, and then we're going to move things right along. So in terms of TVL, over the course of the month of May, their TVL has increased by over 36% to 168 million ADA. In terms of trading volume, this is the biggest piece that I want to touch on here. We now have an increase of over 328%, with more than $200 million being traded in the last 30 days on this DEX. So a lot of new users coming on the platform, and that takes me into the next stat there. We now have an increase of over 82% of new unique active wallets interacting with the Minswap DEX, bringing their total for the month of May to 32,000 total wallets. That is huge for adoption here. And again, I know that there's always this kind of polarization towards meme coins. People either love them or they hate them. But again, these numbers are undeniable when it comes to the adoption and the growth for Cardano. Literally, Minswap made 3 back-to-back all-time highs. I believe the first set of all-time highs was 17 million ADA being traded in over 24 hours. Right after that was 30 million. And then right after that was 54 million ADA being traded in the last 24 hours, making them, I think, like the top 9 or 10th DEX in the entire crypto space. So things like this are undeniable. And again, whether you like it or not, it is a piece of crypto, and it's not just on Cardano. I mean, you've got Pepe and Doge and all these other networks that are built off of just the meme culture. So that is one of the positives here about memes, is the community and the culture that it does bring to the space. Now, in terms of the most traded tokens, coming in at number 1, we have SNEC with over 186 million ADA being traded. In terms of number 2, we've got Bank, number 3, AADA Finance, and then number 4, Stable. What's interesting there is that 3 out of the 4 top traded tokens on Minswap are meme coins that have launched within the last 30 days. So again, that really drives home this point here surrounding the adoption and the growth that really does come from these meme coins. In terms of the highest APR farms, we've got SNEC, Froggy, Disco, and Dean. And then in terms of the circulating supply right now of the total supply of the mint tokens, that's currently sitting at about 15%. And then in terms of the fee switch, we can see at the very bottom there, the treasury for the Minswap protocol now holds over 500,000 ADA, which is an increase of over 74%, given the fact that they've had so much trading volume here over the course of the last month. So a really direct correlation between the trading volume, the monthly active unique users, and the fee switch, which again is going to be going back towards the Minswap treasury in order to further the development and their expansion into the crypto ecosystem. Pretty huge and solid update there, again, surrounding Minswap. Congratulations to that team. And I'm hoping that they're going to continue to bring more people into Cardano as we've seen within the last month. The very last story I want to touch on here for today's video is going to be surrounding Liquid and the fact that this particular team has now added iUSD to their market. So leveraging the Liquid or the LQ platform, you can not only lend, but you can also borrow against your crypto collateral. Now, this is going to be using a peer-to-pool lending option, which we're going to be seeing coming to AADA Finance very soon. That said, when the initial LQ platform launched, we only had support for ADA. Since then, we've seen the adoption or the introduction of JED and Shen, and we're now seeing the introduction of iUSD. So you can now go ahead and actually supply iUSD to the protocol if you're looking to earn from your assets that you're supplying. And then you can now also borrow against your collateral if you maybe want to leverage your iUSD position in order to borrow even more. Now, that said, keep in mind that you don't have to do both. If you want to only supply, you can do that. And then if you only want to borrow, as long as you put down some other kind of collateral, you can borrow iUSD. I think that's going to bring us here to the end of today's Cardano Scoop video. Again, breaking down some of the latest news surrounding Marlowe, Binance, Lace, Minswap, and Liquid here on the Dapp Central YouTube channel. If you guys found today's video to be helpful or insightful in any way, shape, or form, I would really appreciate it if you guys could tap that like button. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more content just like this, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions for me surrounding any of the topics that we touched on as a part of today's video, then please make sure to leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video.